Meditating on the Passion of Jesus through the 14 Stations of the Cross. More than 2,000 years ago, in the holy city of Jerusalem, the Son of God walked the path of suffering known as the Way of the Cross. That path was not merely a path of suffering. It was also a path of boundless love. Every step of the Lord was a word of forgiveness, every wound of the Lord was a sign of mercy, and every drop of bloodshed was an invitation for humanity to return to God. Today, we contemplate the 14 stations of the cross from the time of his condemnation to his burial in the stone tomb. May this meditation help us to better understand the love that God has for each of us. May we, as we contemplate the Passion of Christ, learn to renounce sin, take up our own crosses, and live in love as Christ has loved us. God stood there, silent amidst the slander. His eyes held no hatred, only a profound sadness for humanity. The judge washes his hands to evade responsibility, but no one can wash away the guilt of a guilty conscience when condemning the innocent. The hands that once created the universe are now bound by rough chains. God accepted the loss of freedom to give us back ours. In the magnificent hall, the Lord is alone, the loneliness of the one who is. A crown of thorns awaits him, not golden jewels, but suffering will crown the King of Love. The cross is heavy on his shoulders. The Lord did not shy away, he accepted it as a gesture of love. His shadow is cast upon the rocky road. The shadow of sacrifice will cover and protect us forever. Reading. Pressure from people compelled him to walk, but Jesus walked to the rhythm of the fall, not of tyranny. His shoulders are bruised. Each wound is a message. I bear your pain for you. Before carrying it, he looked at the cross. He knew the path ahead, and he still chose to say, yes. The Lord fell, not because of weakness, but because the burden of the world's sins was too much for him to bear. Dust clung to his face. The Lord had experienced the utter lowliness of the human condition. The whip may strike the body, but it cannot touch the peace in his soul. He clung to the rock to stand up. The Lord teaches us that, when you fall, cling to faith to rise again. The crowd watched indifferently. Indifference is more painful than a whip. Simon was forced, but it was a grace. To bear the cross with the Lord is a privilege. The Lord does not need human strength, but he wants our cooperation. Let us offer our shoulders to help our brothers and sisters bear the burden. From reluctance to compassion, encountering the Lord transformed Simon forever. The world uses violence to coerce, but God uses love to transform. Two people, one cross. When we share the burden with the Lord, it becomes light. Amidst the raging crowd, a flower of compassion bloomed. Veronica dared to step forward for love. The face of the Lord is imprinted on the cloth. When we wipe away the tears of the suffering, we touch the face of the Lord. The Lord does not forget this small gesture. No act of charity is in vain in the sight of God. She kept the scarf like a treasure. The memory of love will be her strength for the days to come. A white cloth in the dirty road. Holiness can still shine through in a dark world. The second fall, his strength was exhausted. Jesus experienced the helplessness of human existence. His knees touched sharp stones. God suffered physically to heal the wounds of our souls. They dragged him up roughly. Jesus silently endured it, without a word of complaint. Even in the dust, he still gazed up to heaven. Suffering did not extinguish his hope. The heavens and earth seemed shrouded in mourning. All creation trembled at the death of its creator. The women wept for him, but the Lord turned and comforted them. His love is always directed towards others. A blessing at the moment of death. God grants peace to broken hearts. Tears of empathy. God cherishes every tear of his children. Don't cry for me, cry for yourselves and your children. A loving warning. Suffering connects people. In times of hardship, human compassion becomes even more sacred. The final fall. Jesus seemed utterly defeated, but this was the beginning of victory. His strength was failing, but his will to save remained. The Lord remained faithful until his last breath. Human cruelty has reached its peak. Darkness seems to be swallowing the light. There were times when he wanted to give up, but God held fast to his mission. He did not quit. Even in the depths of despair, the light of the Father still shines down. He is never alone. His garment was stripped away. The Lord endured humiliation to clothe us with the garment of dignity as His children. The open wound was stuck to my shirt. Every time I took off my shirt, the pain returned. They cast lots to divide up His robes while He was dying. The world is preoccupied with material things and forgets the sacred. His worldly nakedness did not diminish His dignity. Holiness lies not in clothing, but in the soul. Cold winds blew through. God felt the coldness of being abandoned. Iron nails pierced His hands. Christ was nailed to the cross so that He could never leave us. The sound of the hammer striking the nails is an echo of sin. Each blow of the hammer represents a moment of suffering for Christ. The cross was erected. Christ was lifted up to draw people closer to Him. The feet that once walked to preach the gospel are now nailed to the ground. The Lord paused so that we might begin anew. Jesus of Nazareth, King of the Jews. His kingship is a kingship of sacrifice. Everything is finished. The Lord breathed His last in peace and surrendered. The sun darkened. Heaven and earth shared in the grief of the loss of the Creator. His side was pierced. From it flowed blood and water, the source of salvation for the church. The faithful disciple remained at the foot of the cross. Love never abandons, even in death. Arms outstretched. The death of Christ is an eternal embrace for humanity. The body of Christ was lowered. A terrifying silence enveloped Golgotha. A mother's love is boundless. She holds her child close. Her pain now is the silence of death. While my mother is still alive, her heart aches as if pierced by a sword. Her son has passed away. Her life sustains her son's death. His friends came to his aid quietly. They brought boxes of fragrant herbs to embalm and preserve the Lord's body. God's heart is boundless. He never lacks kind hearts. The shroud is pristine white. In death, the seeds of life are hidden. The Lord rests in a stone tomb, a new tomb, never before used for anyone, reserved for the innocent one. The body rests in peace. The Lord has completed the path of suffering in one human life. The mother left the grave with sorrow because her son was dead, but deep in her heart, she still harbored hope in her son's promise. The guards at the tomb feared that His disciples would come to take His body and declare that He had risen. But in the sky, the stars still shone, heralding the coming dawn. The Lord would rise again as promised. The flowers that bloom by the tomb symbolize the resurrection of the Lord, for He sacrificed Himself to save us. Death is not the end, but the gateway to the resurrection. After reflecting on the journey of Jesus Christ on the cross, we realize that the cross is not the end. On the cross, the Lord bestowed the greatest love upon humanity. From that suffering, hope was kindled. From that death, new life began. The cross became a sign of salvation. The cross became the path leading to the light of the resurrection. May each of us, in the difficulties and trials of life, always remember that after darkness, there is always light. After suffering, there is always hope. And after the cross, there is always the glory of the resurrection. After 3 days, the Lord rose again in glory. Let each of us always remember that God's mercy is always around us.